Robin Lundberg Show here with you today. And I know there's a lot of Nets fans who want me to get to the Jacques Vaughn firing and what it means for that franchise. I promise you, I will get to that. I'll also get to the moment that Sabrina and Steph had at the All-Star game, which was the big positive coming from that game. And even Donald Trump's new shoes a little bit, because I was in the vicinity of the guy when he launched them at the sneaker convention. But I want to start with the NBA All-Star game. And I know you guys have probably heard a lot about that by now. You've probably had every single stupid show bloviating and talking about the All-Star game and dunking on the All-Star game and dunking on the dunk contest, if you will. But this makes me sad. I got to be real with you. I'm not here to like rant and rave and say, I just went Adam Sandler there for a second. That silly penguin is back again. The people at the zoo are very nice, penguin. They treat you real respectable like. I'm not here to do that. This makes me sad because I'm an NBA fan first and foremost when it comes to sports. I grew up a hoops head. If you followed my career, you probably knew me for that before you knew me for anything else. Now, it's great that you guys have shared interest with me and we're talking hip hop and we're talking wrestling. I've been carving out a lane in wrestling in recent times, especially the superhero stuff. I did a couple shows on that last week with the X-Men 97 news. It's great that people know me for my variety of interests. But if you were to ask somebody what was my area of expertise or what my career was built upon, it would be NBA basketball. And I've shared this story before. When I moved to New York, straight out of school from Maryland, I was actually an intern on Around the Horn back in those days. And when I got to ESPN Radio, I was an advocate for basketball and for the NBA. And I was pushing it because I didn't think people talked enough about it on the channel. And I always thought, by the way, I made my return, my first appearance on 98.7, which was 1050, just this past weekend. And I was an advocate for the sport. And I used to fight against those people who would say, try harder in college basketball, it's more pure. Because I always thought some of that stuff was kind of coded racism, to be honest. They're not. Racism might be a strong word, but at least stereotypical bias. Let's put it that way. Where, the college players, because there were a bunch of white scrappy guys there, made that a better product. Or the coaches oftentimes were the white guys who were the leader of the team. And I felt the need to stick up for the league and protect it and sing its praises. And here's the thing. I believe that NBA players are more talented than ever. That's sort of the issue here. That's sort of what's the word I'm looking for? The irony here that NBA players are more talented than ever. Like, check out this tweet from Kirk Goldsberry I saw right before the show started. This is kind of wild, right? The 73-win Warriors of 2015, 2016 had the top offense in the NBA. They would rank 21st in offensive efficiency this season, below the Raptors, who are 19 and 36. Now, part of that is just how skilled and talented guys are now. I mean, that is something that needs to be taken into account. Like, the way people can shoot is out of control. It's out of control. Guys can shoot from anywhere. Everybody can shoot from anywhere. Look at the shots that Dame's taken, Logo Lillard and all that. And I don't think they get enough credit sometimes. I mean, it's not just that defense doesn't exist anymore. It's that it's almost impossible to defend. Everyone is too skilled. The three-point line has changed everything. The likes of Steph Curry have changed everything. They have. And the way the game is officiated, on top of that, you're basically legislating defense out of the game. So my issue is not with the skill level of players or the level of talent, because I will argue forever that there's never been a time where the league is more talented than it is right now. It's never been more talented. Today's players are better. I mean, even some of the stuff we saw in the dunk contest, those dunks were better than the dunks that Jordan and Dominique and those guys did. We just seen them all by now. But here's the problem. There are so many things that are being put into the public purview representing the league that send the wrong message. And I think the All-Star game is beyond just an exhibition. It's kind of Exhibit A. It's kind of Exhibit A. I'm going to sound lame, and I'm going to sound like I've been aged out of, once being the hip youngster to now being the old man yelling at the cloud. And check out the gray in the beard. But that's a bad example for kids, that game. It's a bad example for kids. And I know some people might say, well, this is just for kids. What do you care? It's just an all-star game. Kids are watching that, and they're seeing the best players in the world not try and just jack up shots. How are you supposed to impart wisdom or teach or share in that moment as somebody who I coach and teach youth basketball? I would like to be able to point to the legends of the game and say, be like that. But in the All-Star game, it's like, look away. Do not process or take any of this away and allow it to infiltrate your perception of how this sport should be played. And that's on top of the load management thing, where they have to install a rule so players play. And again, I'm not like some ranter or raver. I understand. I actually think the game today is more taxing than it's ever been. Yeah, the bad boy Pistons aren't hitting you in the sternum or the solar plexus or whatever. But because of the proliferation of shooting and how spread the court is, guys have to close out and switch and do all this on every possession. So think about every possession. You're getting back. You're navigating a screen. You're closing out to the shooter. You're going down to the other end of the court. You're in constant motion every single play with the most athletic and explosive athletes the world has ever seen. So it's tough to play 82 games like that. I understand it, but it's a bad message when you have to incentivize playing games. It's a bad message when people buy tickets and they don't see the star players. It's a bad message when the season feels completely meaningless. And then that bad message is amplified when people don't even come close to trying in the All-Star game. I mean, Anthony Edwards, he admitted as such. You want to see some level of pride. It's not like these guys are, not even, he's saying it out loud. For me, it's an all-star game, so I don't think I'll ever look at it being super competitive. It's always fun. I don't know what they can do to make it more competitive. It's always fun, but I don't know what they can do to, it's a break. I don't think anybody wants to come here and compete. Then don't have it. But again, it's not just about the all-star game, because the all-star game itself is not a big deal, though it is an NBA institution. And they would tell you, it's a celebration of the league. That's why the Nets waited, or at least they either didn't make the decision or they waited to announce the decision about Jacques Vaughn. See what you guys are saying over in the comment. Greetings and salutations. NBA dunk contest was garbage. I don't even think I've sympathized with the dunkers. We've seen everything physically possible at this point. There's not much left to do. And you could get the stars in there, but how many of the stars are actually great dunkers? I think you'd have to handpick them. It would have to be Giannis, Ant-Man, Ja Morant. Who else am I missing? LeBron. Those would be the guys you'd actually want in the dunk contest. And I'm sure LeBron's going to get blamed for all this. Hope you got wrestling on. I have Raw recording. I know Cody and McIntyre are starting things off. He's hitting the chat up here early. NBA players are great players, but I think they're soft nowadays. That's the perception. And that is, like, I am someone who has stand for the league. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to say this stuff. I don't want to say this stuff. I'm not somebody who's been waiting to do this. I'd like to celebrate and prop the league up. But it's hard. And Adam Silver and company, they got to get control of it. You can't have the entire season look meaningless, and you can't have the perception of your league being that it's a bunch of divas who don't want to play. And it's not, I see people talk about the international players. Yes, the international game is different and respect and all that, but Jokic and Luka dogged it too. They dogged it too. So I do wonder if the NBA product is in trouble. I mean, young kids, it still seems to resonate with them. The All-Star Game and the Pro Bowl are atrocious. I agree with Ann. It's more so exhibition than an actual game. See, here's the difference between the Pro Bowl was never that. The All-Star Game used to be special. And the Pro Bowl is chalked up to being an isolated thing. The All-Star Game is a fabric of the NBA culture. And it feels like more of the same as far as the critiques of the league itself. That's why I say it's more example than exhibition, more exhibit A than exhibition. Yeah, the whole weekend has become, look, I thought Sabrina and Steph was amazing. I thought that was amazing. And I don't want this negativity to take away from that, because if there's one lasting thing that happened this All-Star weekend, it was Sabrina and Steph. They created a magical moment. Don't let critiques of the All-Star Game or the dunk contest or Kenny Smith take away from that. Because that, I guarantee you, I talked about how the All-Star Game sends a bad message to kids, and I feel like a lame even saying it, but I believe it to be true. I think there were little boys and little girls inspired by what Steph and Sabrina did. I honestly believe that. Because if you're a little girl and you saw that, and Sabrina Ionescu took on that challenge and said, I'm going head-to-head with Steph freaking Curry, and I'm doing it from the NBA three-point line. I'm not afraid. And she held her own. Think about the message that can send and how that can uplift somebody. I've seen it with my daughter, Ronnie. Ronnie, I grew up with a brother and around boys. I didn't grow up around girls or sisters or nothing like that. So maybe I took it for granted how important that representation can be. But I've seen Ronnie so many times say, where's the girl in the story, the superhero? Who's the girl? Or when we watch wrestling, we reference wrestling in Raw being on right now. When's Bianca Belair's match? What's the women's match? What's the girls' match? It means something to her. So for little girls to see Sabrina do that, that's big. Not to mention, it feels like almost the men's game and the women's game are on opposite courses right now. The women's game's hotter than ever with Caitlin Clark coming in to take it next. And then little boys were probably inspired too. It took Sabrina's score. It took Steph shooting better than anybody in the regular three-point contest to beat Sabrina. And little boys who may have thought a certain way about girls are like, okay. This is legit, because that's the thing about basketball. And that's what makes me sad about the product the NBA is putting out there, because basketball is pure. I've met so many people that I wouldn't have met or wouldn't have bonded with if it wasn't for basketball. And what happened with Sabrina and Steph was good for the game. That was good for the game. Rahola 88, yo, Robin, I would love to give, all I watched was 2 dunks. Last one was Jalen dunking on Kai Cenat, and I had enough. He would love to give his input, is what he said. He fixed it. Yeah, the Jalen Brown stuff, the dunking over prop, I'm done with. We can be done with dunking over people. So you guys can continue to comment in. I love the comments coming in. Keep them coming. But that's what I had to say about the NBA All-Star Game. I'm not here to rant and rave. I'm not here to, theatrics, histrionics. I give you my honest, raw opinion. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad. They got to really sponsor this show at some point. Get on the. I need a sponsor. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, by the way. And I know that doesn't sound like a big number, but I just started. And that's like the milestone YouTube number. I just started and almost there. So hit like, hit subscribe, all those things. Please do me that favor. Make sure you hit like on the shows. You share them with people. You comment. You subscribe. All that stuff. Because that's how it is going to grow. And I am going to get sponsors like Wonderful Polar Seltzer. I was I did the show about drinking and alcohol and whatnot. I drink a lot of seltzer water and bubble water, as my kids would call it. I drink a lot of it. All right. The other news from today, because I already talked, I was going to go to the Sabrina and Steph moment, but I think the comment covered that. The news out of the NBA was the Nets firing Jacques Vaughn. The Nets, that was put out this morning. I think, but was it Woj who first had it out there? And for Nets fans, a lot of people think that it was a long time coming. It was a long time coming. And here's the thing about Jacques Vaughn. I really like the guy. I really do. He seems like such a good dude. And he was always positive in everything he was saying. I rooted for him. I thought it was a good idea actually to extend him when he was fired, or when he was initially hired as interim coach. And this statement he put out is part of that. I mean, just look at this. That's a class act statement. Thanking everyone involved, saying it was a pleasure to be the head coach. He hoped everyone he interacted with felt respected and valued, that he gave everything he had. And that seems to be what Jacques Vaughn is about. So just like I don't take pleasure in what I said about the All-Star game, I'm not going to dunk on Jacques Vaughn here either. I like the guy. Not going to dunk on him. But I do think it was time for a change. The Nets have simply just not been good enough. It's been an embarrassing product out there. And once Mikal Bridges sort of called out the coaching, you knew that was probably the beginning of the end. So Mikal is not that kind of guy, generally. And on several occasions, he came out and called out the coaches, particularly after that 50-point loss to the Celtics. He came out and said, when it's been out there, it can't be the same as when it's not been out there, and really put the onus on the coaching. And Mikal seemed upset since they punted that Bucks game. And that might go to the front office as well. We'll see what happens with Sean Marks. Now, Sean Marks probably simultaneously has too much rope and doesn't get enough credit, because you have to remember, Sean Marks took this situation and built it from nothing. He built it from nothing. He had no assets. And then he acquired all those stars. And that team should have won the title. The 2021 Nets would have won the title if not for injury. So you can't, I don't like to work results backwards, is the way I always phrase it. You can't say, they didn't win, so the process was completely flawed. I don't think it was. He made them a destination. He acquired the people and had them in position to win. And then it blew up spectacularly due to a number of factors. And it did blow up spectacularly. No sugarcoating that. So does that factor in to the leash that Sean Marks gets here? Because we're only, really a year since it all blew up. And Kevin Durant asking for that trade and then getting traded. It's only been a year. So where do they go from here? Well, of course they're going to build around Mikal Bridges. I keep seeing people misinterpret what that means. Bridges is a building block. He's not the piece. He's not the only franchise piece. But he's proven himself this year. And I think Mikal is a bona fide player, and the Nets are better than their record has indicated. They are better than their record has indicated. But Knicks fans are going to rub it in right now, right? Because it's funny how the Knicks fans have become so obsessed with the Nets, which is, here's the one thing that I think the KD and Kyrie era accomplished. It established the Nets as a real bona fide franchise and brand. You know, in the city, or they remember the blueprint for greatness, or cities under new management. That was the Jay-Z tweet, right? That may never happen. The Knicks are entrenched in the town. But when it comes to global awareness and memorabilia and following and all that, I think the Knicks or the Nets are bigger than the Knicks, maybe internationally. So that did accomplish that. It cemented them as a real franchise. But now they look like the poorly run franchise in the city versus the Knicks, who are the well-run franchise. And I don't know exactly where the Nets go from here. This summer better tell the tale, or else Sean Marks is going to be joining Jacques Vaughn. How many coaches does Marks get to go through before the heat turns up on him? I think the heat's already up on him. Look, Atkinson was gone because of KD and Kyrie. It seemed, right? That is what it is. Nash was the scapegoat for things going wrong. Vaughn came in for Nash, had a moment, and now he's got it's, you know, it's tough. The coach is always the scapegoat. Nets and Knicks fans are both obsessed with each other. It's not just a one-way street anytime. Yeah, I mean, that's probably true too, to be fair. Look, I try to be rational and I got nothing against the Knicks. I really don't. And yeah, the Knicks fans have the bragging rights right now. It is what it is. If people don't realize the Big Three era can't be blamed solely on Marks, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I mean, they would have won the title. I was at Game 7 when KD stepped on the line. Remember, Kyrie was hurt, and they were up when he was hurt in that series. And Harden was hurt at the beginning of that playoffs, or right at the beginning of that series. I think Game 1 of that series. After they wiped the Celtics, they wiped them, and the Bucks went on to win the title, and went 7 games with Kevin Durant by himself. I mean, that's still to me the best achievement of Kevin Durant's career. I mean, winning a title, obviously, but the most I've ever been impressed by Kevin Durant, and maybe he'll see this. I'm going to get that tweet exchange. That's what's going up either here or in the corner if I move the set, because I promised him I would put our tweet exchange up on my wall. I'm going to make good on the promise. But if KD ever happens to see this, that was the thing that impressed me the most about him in his entire career. He was awesome in that playoff series. I don't care that they lost. Game 5, top 10 game I've ever seen in my life, maybe a top 5 game I've ever seen by an individual player. I mean, transcendent kind of stuff. And it's a shame he had to lose that series. You know, there are other things I could critique about the guy, but not that playoff run. And I do think they would have won. I do. If not for the injuries then. So, you know, it's hard to it's hard to exactly put this all on one person, is I guess what I'm saying. But they need to find a direction quick, because, you know, the Knicks are it's funny, I saw somebody put that out earlier, like people would prop up the Nets to hate on the Knicks, and I guess that might have been true, but the Knicks deserved it. Like, they were 20. I used to push for the Knicks to be relevant back in the, you know, I'm going back to the beginning of this show, and they were just poorly run and embarrassing and all a laughing stock. And since this, you know, even through Phil Jackson, but since Leon Rose took over, that hasn't been the case. And you know, Donovan Mitchell, I don't think that really makes sense for the Knicks. I actually think Donovan Mitchell is more likely to go to the Nets now. And I don't say that because, you know, out of any allegiance or whatnot. I just don't think the fit of Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson makes too much sense. And if he definitely wants to play in New York, like we've theorized, I think Brooklyn is a better destination for Mitchell fit-wise. Because the Knicks don't need Donovan Mitchell right now. The Knicks are close. They're very close. And that's not the piece they need, in my opinion. Because I don't think Brunson and Mitchell is sustainable defensively. Now, Mitchell and Bridges is a great pairing. But the Knicks already have a pairing in Randall and Brunson. And then they brought in OG. And DiVincenzo was a good signing. And they just need to continue to build around that. They have the Knicks have their foundation. They're right there. I don't think they need to go star chasing. Why is KD so polarizing? Because he went to Golden State. That's the answer. I know nobody wants to, spend all the time on that, but that is the answer. That is why he is so polarizing. Because he went to Golden State. Remember, KD was positioned as the anti-LeBron when he won the MVP in in OKC. He was positioned that way, if you recall. The homegrown star who doesn't want the media attention and all that. When he went to the Warriors, the reason people were pissed off is because it guaranteed they were going to win the championship. We talk about the league not being competitive or whatever. That's part of it when you stack a team to that degree. Of course they were going to win. That's out of respect to Kevin Durant. They already have Steph Curry. They already won 73 games. They already won a title. And then you add Kevin Durant? Who the hell's beating that team? I mean, that was the issue. And the burner account stuff or whatnot. And it felt like when he went to Brooklyn, he was trying to build his own thing. And he got close. And there's a lot about, always have respect for his game. And there's a lot about him I respect as well. But you can't throw out the team hopping, the demanding of the trade, and not seeing it through. Like when people critique you for being a bus rider and not a bus driver, and then you leave like that only adds fuel to that fire. And when you've never won as the guy on your team, that adds fuel to the fire when you're in the kind of debates that KD's in. With that said, he's an unbelievable basketball player and one of the best basketball players of all time, regardless of any of that. But those are the things that make him polarizing, and those are the things that are held against you in, those sort of debates that go to that level. I agree. Spite on the Knicks makes no sense, but him going to the Nets is them just doubling down on being mid. Here's the other thing, and I've learned this as I've gotten a little older. I don't look at the championship as the only result. I don't. Having watched the Nets this year, put Donovan Mitchell on that team, I'll be happy. They don't have to win the title. Win 50 games every year. Go to the second round. That's okay. Obviously you want to win the title. That should be the ultimate goal. But, it shouldn't be the only thing that matters. And that's another reason the NBA is hurting. The discourse has made it so the only thing that matters is the title. If you don't win the title, you're a garbage loser. And that's nonsense. There's a lot of good teams out there. There's a lot of good teams. I don't want spite if it means giving up them late Suns picks. We'll see what they got to do. I don't know. It's not a done deal at this point. But I think it's more likely. And he and Bridges have been palling around for a minute there. He and Bridges have been palling around. All right, keep the comments coming. Let me check in on the status of Raw. Rihola has one more. Rihala. I keep seeing Hola. It's obviously Hala. Nets can literally turn their fortunes around as soon as this offseason. Ben Simmons' contract is not expiring this offseason. It's next year. But he would be an expiring contract. Everyone wants to play with Mikal and have the chance to get a... Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's right. I agree. I don't think the Nets hole is something that they can't climb out of. Did the Drew McIntyre Cody Rhodes match happen already? Because I'm interested in the result of that. Drew McIntyre has become a great heel in WWE. He is this is the best version of him that I've seen. That DM hunk Drew McIntyre. Oh, here comes Jimmy Uso. I'm watching it right now to screw with Cody. Clip that WWE put out. He's gonna hit him. Oh, and then Solo gets Cody. Does Drew get the win here? Because Cody never gets pinned. They're not going to show me the clip. I got to go watch it. I'll react to it a little later. You guys have it? Let me know. I got to get the whole TV set up in here. Let me know what happened at the end of that match if Drew was able to beat Cody. DM hunk. I'm a fan of that version of Drew McIntyre. But the last thing I had on the rundown was Cody got pinned? Because how often has Cody been pinned in WWE? How? I mean, I got to think Roman at WrestleMania? I can't think of another time. Wow. I'm assuming that's Kevin's a big he loses. Wow. There you go. Got pinned. This is cool. They're establishing the bloodline as an even more formidable adversary for Cody. And Cody really has this like hero story to conquer. That's really cool. Really cool. Last thing I had on the rundown was Trump launching his new shoes. You know, I had no idea. I was right next to homeboy. I was at my daughter had a competition in Philadelphia this past weekend, and I saw the shoe convention signs. I didn't realize Trump was there with his shoes, these golden shoes. He likes his stuff golden, right? From his shoes to his showers. He likes it golden. Anyhow, these shoes themselves, I see, this is pretty funny because I can make two jokes at the same time by showing this slide. Apparently, this is what they look like. And the Russian CEO wins the autographed sneakers. That's pretty funny. I don't know if that's real or not, but regardless, I don't want to spread misinformation. I can show you. No, apparently that might not be real, so ignore that. The Russian part of it. But the shoes, they are real. I have to fact check the other part of it, but I'm not spreading this. No matter who the victim is, I'm not spreading misinformation about anybody. That's how you're fair, right? I just saw the joke. It made me laugh. This is the shoes, as you see. Very gaudy. The Air Trumps. I wonder how many of those he'll sell. Because here's the thing. I don't think Trump has that juice anymore. I don't think, it's crazy to me that we're still in the same cycle where it's him and Biden. But I feel like his energy was much stronger before because there's like the cult-like following and there's the people who just find him entertaining because he is charismatic in that sense. But I think like all the fringe people have already abandoned ship. And so I don't know if any of this stuff is going to work for Trump as far as that goes. How much does he owe in New York? Like $400 million? But yeah, I did like what WWE did tonight. Real quick, I'll continue to react to that because I see the reactions coming in. Solo, which happened at WrestleMania. That's a cool twist. That's a cool twist. I'm a fan of that move and having Cody lose. It builds up Drew at the same time. That's smart booking by WWE. No question about it. Smart booking. Streets calling them the January 6th. That's a good joke. On the Trump shoes. I see your 444 behind you. Yeah, I mean, 444 came out 444 came out last time I was in between jobs. And I've used Jay-Z as a motivational speaker. And I like to say that 444 made adult me feel the way Blueprint made college me feel. And it was a whole new perspective from Jay at that point in his career. The Black Album is amazing. And as far as like a collection of songs, the Black Album is probably his best album or his biggest album as far as being a collection of songs where, the records will last. I mean, 99 Problems will last. PSA will last. Dirt Off Your Shoulder will last. What More Can I Say will last. There are Encore will last. There are iconic songs on the Black Album. But the Black Album feels more like a collection of songs to me than an album. Where 444 was a project, from front to back. And getting that perspective at that phase of his career with the sonics that No ID provided and the raw approach from Jay. But when he wanted to rap, he came with Smile, third verse, and Marcy Me. And that's as good as anyone's ever rapped to me. Doug Developer, have you seen Madam Web? Interested in seeing Madam Web? After seeing the reactions to Madam Web, not so interested in seeing Madam Web. I won't disparage the quality of something I haven't seen. But yeah, I'm not exactly excited about it. I just want politics to be normal again, boring. I'm with you. Look, I said this on the show about gun violence because that's the issue that matters the most to me. But during COVID at some point, I just realized everything is nuts and everybody's crazy and it's hard to have like rational conversations without extremism coming in. And it made me a little detached. Like I follow and I'm educated, but I'm less engaged. And I know people will say the opposite. Now is the most important. I disagree. I'm less engaged. Sorry, like nothing matters. What do you want me to? You're going to tell me things matter when the stuff we see in the news and the headlines is there every day? I'm supposed to think things matter? Yeah, right. None of that matters. Yes, of course. I mean, I think that that show's going to do well for AEW. What his last match means now versus what his last match may have meant in the past. I mean, it's crazy he's still performing. Sting is at this level, at this phase of his career. So I got to give him credit for that. Sting is. I think we talked about this on this show. He never really had that WWE run. He was there, but never like a real run. Like some of those other guys who, even Flair had the Rumble in '92. I'm talking about like the WCW guys. Obviously the NWO went from WWE to WCW. Sting is the one guy, because even like all those dudes that came over after WWE acquired WCW and had their Goldberg, RVD, and I know he's an ECW guy, but all those guys had their WWE moments. It never felt like that for Sting. He's the one that it didn't really feel like that for. But anybody who's put that much time in and cares that much, I hope he gets a proper send-off. Yeah, I mean, X-Men, look, you forget the heavy that X-Men is. We've talked about this, but X-Men coming back, that's a big, big deal. That's a big, big deal. Cody Rhodes got pinned on Raw. That's also a big, big deal. I got to go watch Raw now. I'm sorry. I think I'm good. I think I hit everything I needed to hit. I'm going to go watch what I was just talking about, because that's a pretty cool finish by WWE there. Appreciate the comments as always, guys. It means a lot. Like, subscribe, share, comment, do all those things. It's the Robin Lundberg Show, Monday through Thursday here at 8 p.m. And I will be back tomorrow. Same Robin time. Same Robin channel.